Liberty is caught in chapter 1618 between the intense wish of Mrs. Lewis to keep her apart from Duncan and her own unwavering dedication to her life in Wilspoon. She is adamant that leaving won't resolve their relationship's core problem. While Liberty agrees that she can try to avoid Duncan, it is essentially difficult for her to leave the greater Wilspoon group because of the depth of her roots and connections. She emphasizes that leaving the city won't solve the main issue, which is Duncan's obsession with her. In a vulnerable moment, Mrs. Lewis acknowledges that she has no choice but to ask Liberty for assistance because of her son's continued pursuit of liberty. While she doesn't mean to minimize liberty, she does stress the value of compatibility in a marriage by implying that Duncan and Liberty belong to distinct social circles. She expresses doubts about their potential future happiness in a partnership. In addition, Mrs. Lewis indicates plainly that she cannot accept Liberty as her daughter in law, implying that her mother in law may be hostile. Liberty acknowledges the viewpoint of Mrs. Lewis while listening intently and respectfully in response. Mrs. Lewis begs Liberty to leave Wilspoon and offers her a hefty reward in exchange. Liberty vehemently rejects this idea due to her deep ties to the city, her friends, and her family. She explains that moving to a new location would disturb her life and relationships, making the idea distasteful to her. Mrs. Lewis makes emotional pleadings, but Liberty holds fast to her position. She rejects making concessions for a circumstance that was not her doing. She thinks that Duncan might want to leave Wilspoon if Mrs. Lewis wants to put some distance between them. Liberty highlights that because of her strong links to her homeland, she finds it difficult to adjust to a new environment. Mrs. Lewis struggles with Liberty's strong resolve as she starts to get emotional. She worries if Liberty's hesitation to leave Wilspoon is a sign that she would eventually consent to Duncan's advances in the near future. In her honest response, Liberty acknowledges the ambiguity of the future while resolutely stating that the intentions of Mrs. Lewis will have no bearing on any decisions she makes. With Liberty's response, Mrs. Lewis is now in control of the situation. Liberty makes it plain that she won't budge from her beliefs and that, even if she does consider a future with Duncan, she won't be forced into wedlock with the Lewis clan. Mrs. Lewis is unable to express herself as she struggles with the complicated feelings triggered by her son's quest for liberty and Liberty's unyielding resolve. This chapter emphasizes the conflict between Liberty's ambition to live life on her terms and the desire of Mrs. Lewis to see her son happy. We are left wondering what might happen in their difficult circumstance, and it paves the way for more changes in the connection between Duncan and Liberty.